Memorial Bus.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Senate Committee on Government Operations meeting on the last day of the month, March 31st. Tomorrow we'll have potential hijinks with the April Fools. We're going to spend all day this afternoon with H588, which is the OPR bill. And we've got different sections of that to consider. Not all of them will be considered today. We've got some other testimony later in the week. Well, let's start with sections 8 through 10. Sadie Fischer, is that close?
Yes,
Is with us. You could join us at the table if you like.
thank you.
And Jen Brault is also with us on the screen. And these two sections mercifully seem to be short and without controversy. So let's go around the room and just introduce, because I see a lot of new faces here. Senator
John Morley's.
Senator Allison Clarkson is not going to be with us today. She's in the House General Committee, I think, right now and doing something else. She represents Windsor County.
Of Windsor.
Yeah, I'm Brian Collmore from Rutland County.
I'm Lynn Jakubowskis, the committee assistant. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Tanya Bihovsky, Chittenden Central District. I'm Becca White, and I'm in the Windsor District, so I serve for the House.
Oh, great. Nice.
So welcome and tell us about the CPA sections, if you will.
Yes, so for the record, my name is Sadie Fischer and I'm the executive director of the Vermont Society of CPAs. Excuse my voice. I'm coming out of being a little under the weather. We represent over 500 of the CPAs and other accounting professionals in the state of Vermont. And there's a society similar to us in all the states. So we work very closely with our neighbors. Jen is going to talk a little bit more about the pathways part of the bill specifically and what kind of impact she thinks that could have on our state. I wanted to just provide a little information and answer any questions you might have about the mobility section, which I know you had some questions about when you first discussed the bill. That's the section that really allows CPAs from Vermont to practice in other states and other state CPAs to practice here, much the way that you can drive your car if you have a driver's license in New Hampshire, if you have a Vermont driver's license, and vice versa. So it's really just an update to the language. It doesn't change fundamentally how it works. You're still under the jurisdiction of the state that you're in, that you're practicing in. This updated language is important. It matches the Universal Accounting Act, which is non-binding, but which many states try to adhere to. And with the updated pathway, it just makes it all that much cleaner and easier for CPAs who want to practice in multiple jurisdictions. So again, it's not a huge change in the implementation. It's just a lot of change in the language. And it's important to just kind of think about, over 30 states already have either passed or are about to pass the pathway legislation and this mobility language together as a package. And so it keeps us in line and keeps our CPAs able to practice in other states and other CPAs able to practice here. So it's really keeps us, especially with our neighbors, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine, we're all on this, Connecticut, we're all on the same trajectory and on the same page around us. So
For the benefit of the rest of the committee, 588, we're on right at the bottom of page 8. And there's two sections here. This is section 8, and then we'll talk about section 9 as well. I have definitely some questions about that, Sadie. At first blush, it seems like substantial equivalency and mobility are not the same thing, but maybe you can sort of explain that. In other words, I took equivalency to mean
Mr. Chair, do you just mind telling us what section you're on?
section 8.
Section 8, okay.
Yeah,
And
it's at the
so,
bottom of page 8.
Okay.
Right there. Certification or some sort of equivalency in terms of skill level versus moving around somewhere. Does that make any sense?
So the substantial equivalency language, from my understanding, and I'm sure that OPR can even further clarify this, was really related to understanding that if somebody got their license in another state, that their licensure regulations had to be substantially equivalent to the ones that Vermont had.
Right.
What we're basically saying is we get that already. And there was a national administrative body that took on the language of substantial equivalency and started using that criteria for their own kind of purposes. Nothing nefarious, so what we're doing is removing that, what most states are doing is removing just that specific phrase around substantial equivalency because it is embedded in the mobility language.
Okay.
And it just makes it clearer and more straightforward about what we're doing.
Senator White?
I guess on that point, and I would wait, I think it's Tim I'll probably be talking to about this. But is this change for principal place of business? This is where that changes. Is that changing it it's for the whole chapter? So it's not just for CPAs. Is that a correct reading of that? Or is it licensure? I guess that my question is because it says principal place of business that we're changing the definition.
For CPAs.
Oh, so it's only for CPAs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I feel less
Okay.
concerned.
Yeah,
Good point though.
we don't want to mess with anyone else.
Okay.
Okay, is anyone? Yeah, Senator White.
Yeah, since we have you, I'll just start by saying it's hard to get your taxes filed in this state. It's hard to get any kind of financial professional support because there seems to be a limited number of folks. And it also seems like they're concentrated at the higher wealth range rather than at maybe where I sit, which is low to middle income. You're the opposite of the problem. You're the folks trying to solve that. So I'm wondering if you could just speak a little bit more to if this will expand, maybe pulling some of our New Hampshire folks over, or is there like an area that you could see maybe that we get to draw from for CPAs?
I think Jen is going to speak to this exact point. All I will say about it is it's not intentionally trying to lure CPAs from other places. It is really because everyone's kind of doing it this way. However, it should open up the door. And I mean, I live in Brattleboro where there are literally like 5 CPAs in the whole,
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that. And the hope is that, again, by making it easier, removing some barriers that don't need to exist, keeping the quality really high. So making sure we're not watering down anything and making it easier for people to hire and work across state lines, that we will be able to eventually serve, people more expediently.
Well, I appreciate that. And I would say I would love to learn more CPAs over here. So even though that may not be the intent,
You're trying to coach
I'm
CPAs.
trying to coach CPAs.
I think Jen might help.
Oh,
with that.
great.
No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I'll hold my questions, but that was
No. And she, I think is going to speak precisely to that, why people leave question too.
So do we want to go? Yeah.
I think this bill will address, this is going to help address one of the issues, that you brought up, the question that you brought up. I mean, that's a problem that CPA firms are seeing all over the U.S. I don't know if, this will resolve all of it. I don't think it will. It's just deterring kind of a fill. And, we have more work in that, but that's definitely on our radar, and Sadie is doing her best to work on that.
Jim, do you know now whether there are Vermont-based CPAs that already go across state lines to work? Assuming these other states, as Sadie mentioned, already have this in place?
Yeah, so I would love to talk about what GFC is. So I work for GFC, Gallagher and Flynn, and to give you a little bit of what trends we're seeing. We are the largest CPA firm in Vermont. We employ over 100 employees. We've expanded services beyond tax and A&A, which is audit and assurance. And we have 2 offices currently in the US. Our largest one, we're based out of South Burlington, Vermont, but we do have an office location in Lebanon, New Hampshire as well. I think what has kind of set us up for success is our pipeline. Our goal for our pipeline for success is every year in October, after the filing season, the extended filing season ends, we hire a minimum of 3 new tax and 3 new A&A staff members every year. In the past, it has new hires. We call them new hires. They have come from they're young college graduates. In the past, that has been that. The trend is now there's less and less of them, and these bright young college graduates are encouraged and motivated to move to the big city after they graduate to get experience working at a big firm. We still try to make that connection, but because we've seen that later on in life, they might move back to Vermont. They were born and raised here, whatever connection they might be, we're hoping to still build that connection so that we can bring them back. So the trend we're seeing now is probably 50% or more of those annual hires, new hires that we get every year are no longer brand new college students, but people like myself who are in their second career. So they had a different career, went back to college, got their accounting degree and credits, and is going back into this field. We're hoping with this new pathway, it's going to help Vermonters who are starting out in their CPA journey to give them a more attainable path to CPA license, because I went through this. I have a family. I have additional responsibilities. I still have to work a full-time job while getting the credits that you need to be able to sit for the CPA and pass the CPA license. And then the current process. So the current process is either there's two ways you can do it. You have to have 150 credits, or you have to have a master's degree plus pass the CPA. The funny thing is the gap, that 150 credits, that gap can be filled with any credits. There's only 30 core accounting credits that is required to sit for the CPA. We're not asking to change that. So you can fill that 150 bucket with any unrelated credits, art, yoga, whatever it may be. My prior degree in this was fashion merchandising, so I luckily found a Johnson State College in the state here that was willing to work with me. I already had 130 something credits. They were willing to work with me and provide a certificate in accounting to meet the 150 credits by taking just the core CPA accounting courses that I needed. So I was very, very lucky, thankfully. But I've seen colleagues. I have colleagues who is waiting to pass with, like, they're taking an elective art class or IT class, something unrelated to the profession, just to be able to fill that 150 bucket. So this kind of hinders their growth potential, because at our firm, and I think of many other CPA firms too, if you don't have credentials, you are unable to move past your the senior staff level, like managers and above, and especially those working in audit and assurance. You are required to have the CPA credentials, so that kind of limits their growth opportunities. And then what that forces us to do, which we have started doing, is we are, because the pool is smaller of talent that we can hire from, we are forced to hire remote workers. So COVID made that really easy. We have a handful of staff members that are remote, and a trend in CPA firms is opening offices over in India. We opened an office in Ahmedabad, India, about 4 years ago, and it's kind of robust. The size of it is growing because they are encouraging their citizens to kind of go for this accounting degree, and they are hiring and giving us the pool for that talent. So the mobility piece is important because a lot of my colleagues at GFC have their CPA license from many states, and especially those foreigners. They have it in other states, but they are able still to practice in Vermont. So it's not changing kind of what we already currently do. We have lots of people working across state lines. Back to that question you were asking. Lots of people working across state lines. Yes, we are living it. It's here. It's happening. COVID made it easier with all the advances in that we had to invest in. Because now remote opportunities wide and far. So goal of this new pathway is to recognize that the field is changing. I believe strongly that relevant work experience is much more valuable than unrelated course credits that we still have listed as the requirement.
I would concur. Any other questions on section 8, Senator White?
I guess my only question would be, so the pathways, if I'm understanding from your documentation, it seems like if you get a master's degree, you're kind of in a different path altogether. So do you see the change here potentially having fewer people get master's degrees, or is this more for the group of folks who, I guess, what do you see? Like, are people going to stop getting those and I would, look to both of you.
Yeah, I do not. This is one of the major questions. UVM fully supports this bill, and we have talked to them, and the people, the students with the means and the ability and the drive to be able to get into the MAP program and go through another year of schooling, that still helps them accelerate their career, because they are getting them ready to sit for the CPA and pass the CPA quicker. So that's not going to deter that at all. This is kind of just to help those that didn't go the traditional route.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the handout, the difference between what exists now and what we're hoping to pass in 588 is a more focused educational piece on actual accounting rather than hiring someone that can fix mufflers and kind of like knows a little bit about accounting. I don't mean to disparage any muffler fixers out there. And also that extra year of experience in the profession itself.
There was research done that showed nationally that extra year of experience actually leads to much more success in terms of longer work outcomes and CPA exam passage than 30 hours of yoga training might. And that's not to say that some of those people, like in Jen's situation, those extra hours were where she took whatever degree she had before and got the expertise that she needed in accounting. But if you've got somebody who was an undergraduate major in accounting, they don't need more classes in accounting. They need more experience in accounting. Yeah. And that 50 hours can cost a lot of money. So on top of while they're already working really hard under Jen, doing a lot of work at these accounting firms, then they're trying to take these classes and pay for them. And so it just becomes a layered barrier. And this is something that used to exist many years ago. So it's sort of beefing up what we've had in the past.
So I think we've stepped into section 9 without meaning to necessarily. Do you want to talk about that as well?
I don't think I have anything else to add on that. I think, unless you have questions, we're happy to answer them.
Have folks read the actual bill?
No, this is just their test. Right?
Yeah.
Section 10 is just your test.
It just restates,
Okay.
How many people pass? Like, what's the rate of passing the uniform exam?
So that's administered by one entity nationally. The CPA exam is, and national passage rates, it varies. There are 5 sections. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but there are 5 sections and it varies by section. So the overall pass rate is somewhere like on your first try. Kind of like probably a driver's license. I don't know what those numbers look like. It's not very high, it's like 40%.
Oh, wow, okay.
But UVM's program, which is why people will still keep coming to get their master's degree at UVM, is phenomenally high.
Oh.
They have a very high pass rate. I want to say it's in the high 80s, if not in the 90s. It's an extremely well-respected program and hugely successful. So people who can and are motivated to kind of continue in that master's pathway are still going to be really attracted to that, especially to a program like UVM, which is the only one master's program we have in the state.
Okay, so Johnson doesn't, it's just a bachelor's.
And many of the other colleges are changing to either have just an accounting focused business degree or.
So
not
that
much
explains
of
half the new, like, it can be it doesn't need to be. Okay.
Yeah, we doesn't have to be a major because a lot of colleges are doing away with the accounting major, not just in Vermont, but in general.
Yes.
Is this
Yeah,
new
you can make-
pathway?
You can major in anything as long as you have that 30 core accounting credits.
And those are spelled out in rule, and we would not necessarily be looking to change those. Because they're still fit within a regular bachelor's degree format.
So is this new pathway in line with the other states, pretty much?
Yes, yeah, I think the number of states who have passed it is over 20. I want to say it's in the 25 range, and then almost all of us are in process. And again, with our closest neighbors, they're all on this route. New York has already passed it. And we're very close in the other states. Maine is a little bit behind, but that's because they can only suggest legislation every 2 years, and this is moved really quickly.
This is
So-
third, it's like third, yeah.
Because it's in for the
30
30th state.
30 states?
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Okay.
with like every day, I feel like I get a new email, like, we just had it. Yeah, I'm like, great, so, yeah.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Jen.
And
Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks, Jen.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
well, we're a little ahead of schedule, which is kind of unusual. I don't know whether we have next witnesses here or not. It doesn't look like it. Are you with the dental folks?
No, I'm not. I'm with OPR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, the two dental ones are supposed to be, assuming that they are not.
okay. Well, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll be back as soon as we touch base